Doctor. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Be sure to subscribe to The Kim Jacobs Show right on YouTube. Turn on your notification bell to all so you never miss a beat. And guess what? Every time you watch, you're going to receive a real relevant and relatable guest that's going to share with you a piece of the puzzle on this journey called life that will help you be able to manage just a little bit smoother. At the end of the day, the Kim Jacobs Show goal is to be able to provide balance to the world, one household at a time.
Kim Jacobs Show. You're watching Kim Jacobs Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. How are you, Natasha?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm fantastic as well. You're rocking one of my favorite colors over there, purple. I love purple. Even I love red too. Now, red is like another favorite, but purple is my favorite, you know?
Purple's my favorite too, and it's one of my brand colors. And my person is always saying, you know, wear your brand colors. Like, just be in the flow. Actually, I was wearing a gray sweater dress before, and I said, no, wear your brand colors. So I threw on something purple.
I love it. We can be friends all day long. Between purple and red and fuchsias, I kind of like all of them, but I love purple. So I infuse the purple in my brand as well. I just need to wear, I have some purple glasses too. I could wear some purple glasses.
That's what I need to have. My last purple glasses are a few prescriptions ago. I need some new ones.
Well, I like these red ones too. Don't get me wrong. So I can rock these all day with anything.
They look amazing.
And you look amazing. So after all the compliments here, oh, hey, where are you located?
I'm in just east of Toronto, Canada.
Oh, wow. Okay. So y'all listen, everybody, we international today.
Yes, I think I might be the only person who was a co-author in that journal, in the Women on a Mission journal, who was from Canada. But I was like, I jumped into that opportunity. I was so excited. I'm sure it's colder here where I am than where y'all are. We're having a cold day today.
But the thing is, how cold is it over there today?
Well, it's minus 18 Celsius, which I don't even want to know what that is Fahrenheit, but it's cold. Like, but the funny thing is, it's gonna be -2 tomorrow. So my dad called me this morning and we were laughing about how that's Toronto weather for you. Very extreme. It changes day to day. So I say we're on a self-clean program. It snows, it warms up, it melts. We barely have to use like plows.
Wow. Well, it looks mighty bright and sunny where you are because you bring that sunlight to whatever I'm sure you're participating in. So it doesn't matter how cold it is outside as long as they got Natasha Halliday in the atmosphere over there, right?
Oh, thank you. Awesome.
That's fun. I've been to Toronto before, and actually it's big. I love it. It's beautiful. And it kind of reminded, was it Ontario or Toronto? I think I've been to both. I can't remember. You tell me once I say
the
this.
Province that Toronto is in. So Toronto is the city. It's the capital city of the province of Ontario. So we have provinces where y'all have states, and Toronto is the capital city here.
Well, I know it reminded me of New York. Which one is that? Is that Toronto or Ontario?
It would have been Toronto that would remind you New York. Which, funny enough,
because I was like, I'm in New York City here. I felt like I was like right in the heart of the city.
Downtown, yeah, it's bustling downtown. And what's interesting, and I haven't been to Chicago, but apparently, physically the layout, it has a lot of similarities to Chicago. Weather's similar, so people feel like it's like the Chicago of Canada sort of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, it was cold. It was cold when I came to, actually, but not as cold as New York at that particular time, because I went to New York City for something with my family one time, and I went to scratch my leg, Natasha, and just right through my pants because it was just a little itchy feeling right there, and I ripped the skin off. That's how cold it was. I was like, what in the world? Let's get out of here! I'm freezing.
That's cold.
I'm freezing.
Ungodly cold.
It was very cold. I was like, this is insanity right here. But don't get me wrong. I love New York City. Love the big lights, big city, bright city, and all of that. Bright lights and big city. We'd be doing the Spider-Man walk like, hey, all the fight. But I was like, not when my skin ripped. I was like, let's go.
Yeah. People like to blame all the cold weather coming from us, but like my parents live in Niagara Falls, so they're just on the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. And when I see what's happening in Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York, I was like, don't be blaming us. Y'all
That's
got
right.
your own mess going on.
No, no. Well, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, so that's where I'm located. But okay, so all the small talk, y'all. We wanted to give you guys a chance to get into your virtual seats. You've already got a chance to hear a little bit about Natasha Halliday. But as you come into the studio, let us know where you're visiting in from too. We don't want to just tell you where we are. We'd love to be able to hear from you. Tag your friends. Invite people into today's discussion. This is a mental health expert. She's also a comedian. And there's a lot of things. I'll tell you about all of it. Let me just go ahead and read specifically her bio. She was referred by one of the authors that she's a part of, which is Women That Are on a Mission Journal. And in particular, she is a therapist, a registered social worker who has been working in the mental health field for over 20 years. Everybody needs to be watching this episode today. Do you know how much mental health issues are going on with all of the people that have passed away with COVID? Over 800,000 people have transitioned from this earth. We all have something going on where we need some extra help on this earth from people like Natasha. She's also a speaker, and thank goodness she's a comedian, because we need a little bit of laughter in the midst of all of the downward spirals of things that's been happening. So we need this ray of hope and sunlight in today's society. Welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show, Natasha Halliday.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Well, I am equally excited. And listen, we're going to be talking just a candid conversation. If you all have questions, I encourage you, just from a housekeeping perspective, go ahead and type your questions in. I can't represent every single person that has a question. So if you have a question and you know you need the answer to it, or the answer for someone that you know that's a loved one, go ahead and type that in today. And when we come back from this commercial break, we're going to get started. We're going to just deep dive right into this. And Natasha, before we take the commercial break, what direction do we want to start in? Do you want to kind of take us back a little bit about your journey and maybe what made you become so passionate about mental health and being the specialist that you are?
Absolutely. We can definitely start with the how I got here and what inspired it, and then go from there.
All right. So we're going to hear the backstory of Natasha Halliday right after this commercial break.
I'm attorney Kenneth D. Snow, and at the Snow Legal Group, justice is our job.
For more than 20 years, Attorney Snow has been fighting for justice and winning cases in the Carolinas by providing aggressive representation in criminal defense, domestic violence, family law, serious injury, and wrongful death. If you've been injured or lost a loved one in an accident, including tractor trailer or rideshare, you need the Snow Legal Group by your side, fighting for justice and fighting for you. Visit snowlegal.com. Call 704-358-0026 for a free virtual consultation. Located at 6827 Fairview Road, Suite D in South Park.
All right, everyone. And we are back with Natasha. I'm trying to say Natasha Halliday. That's a tongue twister. You realize that, right? So now it makes it sound like I'm slurring. Natasha? It's to Natasha Halliday.
There you go.
Let's go back on your journey, Natasha. Take us back and tell us where it all kind of began for you.
So from a kid, I knew I wanted to work in some kind of helping field. I either wanted to be a lawyer or I wanted to be at the time I said a psychologist. And as I got a bit older and I learned that all the reading you're going to have to do, I was like, I'd rather read about the mind than the law. So that's how I ended up in the mental health field. And I initially started working solely with children and youth. Young people are my passion. I love young people, but I just love people in general. And so I moved into working with all ages. And over time, as I was working in mental health, I worked in acute care settings in mental health wards. I worked outpatient. I did crisis assessments in emergency departments with people being brought in acute mental health crises. So I did all that in hospital settings for years.
Wow.
And one of the things that started to unfold as I was working in that became a passion for helping people develop resilience. Because I had started to see the same things that were people used to be able to tolerate, they didn't seem to be able to tolerate anymore.
Right.
And I started to kind of dig in and I was like, what's that about? And I started to recognize how when we aren't continuing to foster and build resilience in ourselves, we can crash. Because I think, unfortunately, we're living this, you only live once life. And it's like we're trying to encourage everything should be great all the time. But no, life comes with hardship.
That's
And
right.
we don't need to seek it, but we need to accept that it happens so that we don't spend so much time recovering from being blindsided by the hardship. We
That's
move
right.
straight into, well, what am I going to do about it?
I'm going to tag some people because I just want people to hear this. This is some good stuff. And I don't want anybody to miss. I almost want you to pause for a second. I do want you to pause for a second. 30 seconds.
Sure.
Because I really want everyone. This woman is dropping some knowledge that is going to be life-changing. So I am encouraging everybody for a brief moment, for 30 seconds. This is going to be your one opportunity to go ahead and share the broadcast, to go ahead and tag about 10, 15 friends. What she's getting ready to share already is something nobody needs to miss. So take 30 seconds and then we're going to come back. I won't interrupt you, okay? I'll let you just free flow. 30 seconds, y'all, go. Right. Okay. I don't know how many people you tagged, but I tagged a few and I am excited, not just excited, but like eager to hear everything that you're sharing here. Okay. So you felt that from a perspective of resiliency, you said that people, the more resilient they are, the harder it seemed like the crash was. Is that what I'm thinking I'm hearing?
No, I'm saying that resilience is really our go-to to keep us afloat.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay.
haven't put this on my website yet because my website's under construction, but I have this visual that I like to offer people to understand how resilience works,
Okay.
right? Because we cannot avoid hardship. If I'd figured out how to avoid hardship, believe me, I would have. But we can't. So we have to learn how to move through it and grow through it.
Yes.
So the visualization I offer for people, as I said, resilience is like having an umbrella in the rain. You don't want to stay inside and avoid every raindrop. And if you think about the raindrops being our adversity, but when you have an umbrella, you're not drenched. So you're in it, but you're not affected in the most negatively impactful way. And that's what resilience does for you. It allows you to go through and move through these difficult circumstances without them doing you in, without them shutting you down. We're in this pandemic. Everybody's suffering. And one of the things I've been frustrated about is some of the messages that are being given, because we are not creating a place where people can be resilient by saying, do this and it'll be over. No, pandemics last 2 to 3 years. That's what they do.
They're here for their purpose.
My dad is the cutest man on earth. My dad's in his early 80s, and he's been schooling me on what's going to happen in this pandemic based on what happened in the last one, based on his research. And so at the very beginning of the pandemic, I was like, okay, so I'm not traveling for 2 to 3 years. Okay, I can accept that. I'm not going to this, I'm not going to that. And so as we've been moving through it and people are getting frustrated, I'm like, I'm very blessed that I'd already worked through that in my thinking. I travel around my province. So I do little weekend getaways. I have one of my girls that I travel with all the time. We just do our little weekend getaways. We hop in the car, we go somewhere. But what's great is I'm learning about the place that I live. I haven't done half the stuff near me because I was too busy getting on a plane and going further away. Now, albeit I miss the Caribbean. I miss the Caribbean.
I do too now. I miss Hawaii. I love Hawaii and Bahamas. I love these places.
And COVID killed my Hawaii plans. One of my girlfriends was going to do her 40th there. No Hawaii 40 for her 40th because of the pandemic, but Hawaii's still there. It ain't going nowhere, so I can go afterwards. I joke a little bit because I love the beach. So I'm like, one day somebody's gonna find me in my bathing suit in some kid's sandbox because I need sand in my life and on my skin. But
okay, that visual, I do a lot of visualization exercises, and I just really could visualize you in a sandbox and in the Caribbean, and somebody saying, "Hey." So, are you single? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm single, yeah.
Okay, so somebody that is like over in the adult cove section of Nassau, the Atlantis or somewhere, where the adults can be, then they're going to look across in the horizon and see you and be like, I don't see a ring on her finger. She's available.
Oh my goodness. But
That's
even laughing about that for me is part of how I manage and I go through this stuff. Right?
right.
I think what's unfortunate is we are learning to tap out of feeling, but we can't avoid feeling. We have to feel even the unpleasant feels.
That's
So
good.
the one thing that I often to explain to people to help them understand, if you think about if you had one day you woke up and you had a pain in your leg.
Right.
And by day 5, you're like, that's it. I got to go to a doctor. If you go to the doctor, but you've taken Tylenol every day, you can't speak to the severity of the pain. You can't speak to whether it was going to continue for 5 days.
Because
So
you
it's
masked
harder.
it. You masked it.
Right. So it's harder to diagnose. So how do
Right.
we know what to address if we don't know what it is?
I
For
agree.
the same reason, we have to experience emotional pain. So we can actually do a little bit of introspection and go, what is this about? So how do I know how to address it?
That's good. But then if we're talking in a very transparent manner, nobody really wants to experience the pain that we may be experiencing. So it's like, no, if I have an immediate solution that can help me kind of get through it, that's what most people tend to do, correct?
Right. Right. And a lot of that's driven by the fear of not wanting to experience pain. Like we have this fear of pain, but I'm like, it's not that I think pain is a good thing, but this is what I've learned. Pain is a communicator. So you have to listen to it.
Yeah.
And when we shut it down before we've heard from it, we actually stall the process of moving through.
That's good. I'm typing what you're saying. That is really good. Pain is a communicator. We have to listen to it. Y'all, we have to listen to what Natasha Halliday is saying here today, because I can see all of you typing your questions and your comments. Keep those coming in. What we'll do is a flash round, and we will go through just a Q&A where we get a chance to have Natasha answer your very specific questions, okay? Pain is a communicator. We have to listen to it. Natasha Halliday is saying this. And what else do you want to say about that, Natasha?
Just, one thing I love to do is help people shift from trying to avoid it and understanding that many times when we try to avoid pain, we create new pain. So I'm a therapist. One of the things, especially with my young clients, I get from them is, I don't keep as many friends because people can hurt you. And I said, do you like being alone? No. So to avoid being hurt by people, you've created a new pain of being alone. Did that really work out how you wanted it to? And it's till I bring it to their attention, they're like, oh, this isn't working because I don't like being alone and I don't like not having friends. So
I agree with everything you're saying and I'm not a therapist like that, but I do think of, I coach people all very often. And many times I've heard people say, well, I don't believe in relationships, so I don't believe that there are any good men out there, whatever the theory is. And I'm like, not everybody did this to you. This is just that one person or that one scenario. And even if it's been a few bad seeds along your journey, because in some instances I've talked to people and they're like, no, he did it, he didn't, they naming these people, whatever. But at the end of the day, that's on them. They did that. That has nothing to do with the value that you bring and the joy that you can bring to relationships. So don't deprive somebody else to experience the love that you have to give because they didn't know what to do with it,
Right. But when we don't know ourselves, we understand ourselves through what other people do. So this is part of the issue. When you don't know yourself, whatever people do tells you about yourself. So there's some things that we usually find indisputable. This is how I start to bring this dialogue when I start to see this with my clients. If I said to you, Kim, are you a Black female? What would you say to me?
100% a Black female.
Right. You don't dispute that. But
why would I dispute that? Black,
African
American, chocolate colored person, colored girl, brown, I don't care.
Love it.
Fight the power, all that. I don't did my little afro. I'm like, girl, I'm like, yes, I know I would have been probably in fight. I would have definitely been in any groups that was trying to help change society. That would have been me all day long. Awesome. Hello, I'm there.
So that's something that most people could look at you and, people would look at you and see that. And you clearly are firm in that. But there's other things that we're less firm about. So you sound like you're very clear about what your purpose is, what you're called to do on this earth. When we don't have sure footing and we don't know who we are, we take the interpretations of other people. And so I usually bring the kind of obvious, look at how sure you are about that. Imagine if you started to get more sure about other things about yourself. Then you would recognize their behavior is about them and it's not about you.
Yes, yes. I love it. I'm just typing it. This is good. Listen, y'all, go ahead and type your comments and questions, because when we come back after this commercial break, I am going to go ahead and just jump right in to some of the questions from the studio audience so it don't get too far into the show, okay?
Yeah.
All right. But when you don't know yourself, what other people do to you is what we accept about ourselves. This is I may say that kind of janky, but the point is you get the gist. I'm trying to type in, but this is some good stuff. Right after this commercial break, we're going to go right to your studio audience comments and questions. If you haven't shared the broadcast, go ahead and do so. Give more people the chance to learn from our special guest today, Natasha Halliday.
It's not just another day. It's a brand new day, full of all the fun, love, and laughter you and your family create. Silver Shield Security understands feeling at home means feeling safe and happy. No credit checks, no contracts. We offer payment arrangements, and we'll even give you a free door camera. Find out how we can brighten your day even more at silvershield-security.com. Silver Shield Security.
All right, everyone, we're going to go right into our studio audience comments and questions. Let's see. Some of you all have been already typing, and I hope that you're taking notes or screenshotting some of today's cheers. Double P says, cheers to my dynamic friend, Natasha. You know who Double P is?
No.
Double P, you need to put your name so she can recognize.
I was like, I don't know about Double P. Chances are I know who it is, but I was like, Double P, what?
A Double P. I'm your Double P. All right. So anyway, we're glad to have you.
I'll take it. I love it. Thank you.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Let's see. Oh, Allison Skeet says, and she's one of our faithful followers. She's also an online financial contributor to the Kim Jacobs Show. And we love Allison. Thank you so much for being here. It's currently 6 degrees in Albany and 8 degrees in Buffalo. Yeah, upstate New York.
It's cold.
It is so cold. I lived in upstate New York, Natasha. And the thing is, one day you would go to bed and then wake up and it would be bright. I was like, why is it so light in this house? And it's like early morning. The snow, you open the door and it's like 10 feet of snow drifts going around. And the snow is so tall that it's covering the entire door. And I'm not exaggerating. I do exaggerate, and sometimes, but not in this instance, right? Yeah. So it's like 10 feet of snow drifts, and the door, time you open the doors, it just pours in on you. Yeah. That's insane. I was like, we have to move.
East of Ontario, that can happen.
And that can happen?
Yeah, I haven't, like in some of the eastern provinces, I've heard of like you wake up and you're like snowed in. And I don't think it happens much, but I'm like, that happens once and I relocate. Like,
right. I mean, literally the next year we were gone. I was like, that's it. I'm out of here. I cannot take this. I'm from Newport News, Virginia originally. This is too much.
My parents are from the Caribbean. I'm like, so tell me why you would leave where we go to vacation to come live here. And they're like, well, there's opportunity in this and the other. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but y'all live where we go for vacation. Like, that's where you're from.
Angeline Hill, Pastor Angeline Hill, Evangelist Angeline Hill says, hard times getting on, but I'm here. Yes, okay. Allison said, good morning, ladies. Stay warm. And let's see. Oh, here somebody said, how do you recognize your loved one is having stress and mental health problems? Do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that's important to recognize is everybody has mental health, and we all have different degrees of how well we're doing or not well.
Okay.
Having a mental health disorder is when we cannot function. And you don't even need to worry about whether it's a diagnosable thing. You just want to be able to look at somebody might need support when they're at the point where it's impeding how they live their life.
Interesting.
We are avoiding what we normally do, because one of the biggest responses to mental strain is to avoid. If this causes me pain, I'm going to avoid it. If this has me fearful, I'm going to avoid it. It makes me anxious, I'm going to avoid it. Right?
Okay.
We want to move into our comfort zone and not do it. So if to recognize it, you might see changes in their behavior. You might see and part of one of the things that I do, because as somebody who did like crisis assessments in the emergency department of hospitals, somebody would come into me and say, I've noticed this change. And when you hear the whole picture, well, there was a death in the family. Well, give somebody time to grieve. So you also want to contextualize why there might be change.
Right.
Sometimes we're too quick to diagnose or to push it to say it's this. But you would be looking for maybe changes where there's changes to sleep, to eating, even it sounds weird, but irritability can be a sign of depression,
Okay.
right? And part of that is it's hard to tolerate anything. So I'm going to use my water bottle as an example because I always do this with my clients. Got my water bottle here and we see there's this much water.
Right.
So if you think about all the water that's in there, that is the stress that you're already holding. And we have to understand stress isn't just up here. We physically hold stress in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have to make that connection between mind and body. So every day that I encounter stress, I only have this much space.
Okay. Right off the top. That's all
Because
you
there's
have.
already this. So think about it. If I was here and the pandemic hit, it probably brought me to here, which probably left me that much more. Right? So part of having maybe some mental health concerns is the fact that you're so full of stuff already.
Okay.
It's easy to go over because there's what's your threshold when there's so little space to deal? So one of the things that I recommend with my clients is, how do you pour out a little bit of water every day? Do you meditate? Do you exercise? Are you paying attention to how you're sleeping, your diet, and all those things might be a part of it. But sometimes we look at coping as a very reactionary thing. I feel stressed, so I do this. What about doing something when you don't feel stressed? Because we have to trust that that's part of our mental health maintenance. Just the fact that if I get on a great health regime and I start eating well and I'm exercising, when I stop, my body notices I've stopped. So when I hit my goal, I have to continue at some level of maintenance. Doing the same thing in our mental health is quite important. Offering yourself some time to have downtime and not be doing all the time, right?
Yes.
It's very important to practice introspection. So for the person who's saying, how do you recognize your loved one is having stress and mental health? Even are they checking in with themselves? I'm not 20, so I go a little old school and I talk about the old tuner radios. And I said, are we checking in to see, when you think about it, when it's not tuned right in, it's fuzzy.
That's right.
And have I become fuzzy because I'm not in line with what I want to be in line with?
That's good.
And how do I get myself back into line? But if I'm not even checking, I may not notice, which allows it to get potentially worse.
That's good. Well,
so when we're looking at how do we see this with our loved ones, what we might be witnessing is that coming offline where there's that fuzziness. And that, like I said, that comes through maybe a change in sleep, change in eating, maybe change in behavior, irritability, things like that. And I would recommend for somebody who's concerned about a family member, have a dialogue with them. Check in with them and see, have they noticed? Because sometimes they notice, but they didn't really know how to pinpoint it. Or maybe the dialogue invites them that space to then do a little bit of self-reflection, go, you know what? No, I'm not myself.
Well, how do you recommend having that dialogue, since you're a therapist? Because I know I've personally have tried to have dialogue with people that I saw some things that I felt was slightly off, and I thought I was doing it out of love, but it did not come across that way, and it was very offensive. So I clearly did something wrong, even though I genuinely have love for the person or people that I've approached about things. So how do you, because nobody wants to, if you love somebody, you don't want to offend the person either.
No, well, you don't want to start with what's wrong with you. Because part of it
hey, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Okay, I already started.
What's going on? No, you can't come at somebody that way. Sometimes it's the observation. I've noticed this. And the thing is, when I've noticed, I'm taking ownership for what I see. You have the option to tell me, do you also have some of that? Have you observed that as well? You can push it right back on me. And what I would recommend is start gently, and it's almost like inviting somebody to dance. Have they accepted? So you don't want to just start all of it and just go barreling down the whole conversation. Do a little bit. Put that hand out, and do they take your hand? Now take a step. Do they take the step with you? Because you can shut down a productive conversation if somebody's not ready for it. So there's something in one of the modalities of treating some mental health issues, and even in addiction, called motivational interviewing. And in motivational interviewing, you look at they include stages of change. So part of what you want to look at is, when you open the dialogue, how ready do they seem to have it? If they're just not about it, then you might need to put a pause on that conversation.
And how do you put a pause? Because sometimes this is all good stuff, y'all. Because like when you're in a conversation and now you've already opened the Pandora's box, and they know where you're going with it, because now you done already kind of let it out the bag a little bit. Now, when you do that and you try to backpedal and say, no, you know what? I think that it's best that I just save this conversation for another time, because I think we want to be on the same page. I'm probably saying all the wrong.
I think we worry too much about what the right and the wrong is.
I don't worry about it at all. I just say it. But the thing is, I noticed that it ends up sometimes it's the wrong thing, because the person may say, it's on now that you just, it's all, I'm in trouble. I'm like, no, I love you. I care about you. This is just how it makes me feel. I try all of the things I've learned in counseling.
Yeah.
When this happens, this is how I feel, and take all of the I statements. It still, some people, it does not end well with them, because they're blocked in their own mind, that they don't even have anything going on, but the whole world can see that they have something going on.
Yeah. Well, part of that, even before you start, is knowing your audience. Are you even going to open the dialogue with someone who is remotely ready to have that conversation, or capable? Like, there's some people who you might know in advance, I'm going to hit a wall. So it's like, I don't even know how to do it. Right. It's how creative do we get about indirectly inviting that dialogue? And then part of it just might be, the honesty of, this is what I observed. I wanted to bring it to your attention. We don't have to talk about it, but
that's good. That's
also
good.
Trusting you've planted a seed.
Okay, so that's okay, y'all know. Put some of those emojis that are hand claps, some hearts, everything, and share that. That is crazy great right there.
Yeah.
Let's see. So now I forgot what you said.
I said, you open the dialogue, but if they're not willing to have it, just, you can shut it down. Just saying, this was something I saw. If you want to talk, and part of it is, can you invite them to have the discussion later? This is what I see. Doesn't sound like you're ready to talk about it, but if you ever do, I'd love to talk about it.
Okay.
And if they're coming at you and it's all negative, okay, move on. But sometimes we miss that we've planted that seed where it gets them thinking. And they may not even come back to us to have the dialogue, but they might go to somebody else, or they might just do a little searching within themselves. Maybe then go talk to their family doctor and say, you know what, something's not right with me. What do I do?
But you planted the seed. I love that. So open the dialogue, simply bring it to their attention, and in the conversation, if you know that that's a person that's not really receptive to a full discussion about it, but that's good. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Mary V. Burton says, do you think that people are so used to life being in chaos that it becomes their norm?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that it's for several reasons. I think we live very busy lives, but I think that we've glamorized and normalized chaos to our detriment. Right? I'm on my hustle and I'm grinding and all these things that are great. You know what? There is a time for a hustle, but like the Bible says, there's also, well, it doesn't say there's a time to sit down and relax, but I'm going to improvise what it says in Ecclesiastes. But the whole point is, in Ecclesiastes, it talks about there is a time for everything.
A time for everything under the sun, under the heaven.
Right. So
it's a time for, sometimes you got to give, sometimes you got to let go. Sometimes you gotta, it's a whole bunch of it in Ecclesiastes 3. You just go and just completely binge on everything that there's a time and a season for. and we go through different seasons in our lives. And
while I think that people are used to it, what I recommend is, again, know yourself. So let's go back to the beginning of the pandemic. Not only are we like, what's a pandemic? And what do you mean? Like, I laughed till this day, the fact that when they said shut down for 2 weeks, I was cute. I believed that it was going to be 2 weeks, because how did I know? But here we shut down, and then add to that what's happening, especially what was happening in the US, but it was happening in Canada too. And I was like, I don't want to watch one more story of seeing somebody in a Black body being killed.
right.
And I had to make a conscious decision about how much I was going to ingest, because people are blasting things on social media, sending things in my WhatsApp, and it was coming at me all angles, but I'm the only one who knows what impact it's having on me. So I had to take responsibility and say, you know what? Listen, I'm a therapist. So while y'all get to go and do whatever for work, I got to listen to trauma all day long.
All day.
I cannot be watching it on TV, getting it all day in my WhatsApp. I can't be on every social media platform, because at the end of the day, at the end of the night, when I'm sitting there, who's going to tend to me? So I have the gate. I had to shut my gate sometimes and say, no, it's too much. And one thing I'm a firm believer of is, I'm still working on getting my diet in gear, but I also look at, we ingest through our eyes and through our ears, and we need to be honest about, can I digest all that I'm ingesting? So what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, can I even digest all of that?
That's good. This is really great information you're sharing. So we have to be able to shut the gate sometimes. And I know I can only speak personally as well. And Natasha, everything you're saying I can relate with. When it comes to knowing my body speaks to me, like having a whole conversation. And it's like,
the more you read last house, how much it speaks.
Right. My body will tell me, Kim, you can feel that tension. You can feel this. And I promise you, I will take a nap. I'll do whatever I need to do to be able to just relax and unwind. And the funny part is that, and I don't know how funny it is, but if I'm in a stressful situation, God almost like just allows me to go to sleep. Like I could be talking, I don't know if it's I don't think it's narcolepsy, but, and I'm not joking narcolepsy at all, because that's a real serious condition.
No,
but literally I can just midstream, if it gets too stressful, I can
shut it down.
and I can go take a whole nap. And you'd be like, how is she able to do that? It's just my coping mechanism. I don't know how. I'm grateful for it, because sometimes it's things that are really heightened level of stress, but I don't even really always know that it's happening because I'm napping through it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And this is, again, why it's so important to know yourself, because now you know one of the things that's valuable to you that helps you as a coping strategy, right? And
Right.
I love what you said, because I'm always teaching people, your mind and your body are way more connected than you think. So your body is talking to you. We learn as children, we have butterflies in our tummy. What they forget to mention is not every headache is because you're dehydrated. Not every stomach ache is because you ate something bad. Sometimes your body's like, you didn't get the message that your mind was sending that you were off. So now your body, it's like, I feel like it's like those alarm clocks that get louder. So it's like there's a little signal in your brain that says,
ding, 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 ding,
and you're not listening. So it gets louder and it gets louder and it gets louder to say, listen, there is something up. Do something about it. And sometimes the first something is to stop. And going back to the comment about the chaos and the question about the chaos is, we've conditioned ourselves to do too much.
Okay.
And it's not healthy.
Okay. So when we come back after this commercial break, what are some specific strategies that you'd recommend people implement or do to be able to gain better control of our mental health? And I'll read a couple of statistics. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for providing these for us. Statistics on fear and mental health. According to singlecare.com, 19 million adults experience specific phobias, making it the most common anxiety disorder in America. That is huge. Isn't that huge?
Yeah.
In 2020, a survey said 62% of respondents reported experiencing some degree of anxiety. And anxiety, we know, can throw your mental health completely out of whack, And it is estimated that 264 million adults around the globe have anxiety, and that's from the World Health Organization, and that's from 2017. You can imagine how the numbers are at this point for 2020, 2021, and 2022, given what's happened with the pandemic, which threw us all off mentally, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
Wow. And the majority of the women, it's usually, let me see what they said about that. Women, anxiety is most common mental disorder in the United States, affecting 40 million adults, according to ADA in 2020. And they go break it down by states and everything, but by sex, I want to make sure I share this. Anxiety disorders are more common in female than in male. And anxiety affects 23% of female adults and 14% of males, according to the NIMH in 2017. So it's a whole bunch, and it breaks it down by age, educational level. But any of this information that you want, a lot of it you can find right on Single Care. I'll put the link here. I'll put the link right in the comment section for you guys, so y'all don't have to search it. And when we come back from this commercial break, we're going to talk more with Natasha Halliday about what she recommends that we do to get a better handle on our mental health. Is that a good discussion to go in? And I see some more comments. I'll get to your comments for sure as well, but I want to give her a chance to speak some more as well. All right, right after this commercial break.
My father had 4 of his fingers amputated in a workplace accident. It was the first injured individual I represented, and I knew I had to win that case. When someone walks into my office and they've been injured, I know what they're going through. If you've been injured at work with Hunter and Everett. We've got the experience, so let us help you.
All right, everyone, and we're back talking with Natasha Halliday. Natasha, any tips that you can share with us so we can all get a good handle on our mental health?
Yes. So the first thing I'm going to share is, really simplistic understanding of what 2 of the most major mental health disorders do. And I'm going to use that to show why one specific coping strategy or one specific intervention is so important.
Okay.
So when we think about depression, we're often looking backwards. Depression pulls us into our past.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety pulls us into our future.
Depression pulls us into our past.
Yeah. And anxiety into the future, because anxiety is a lot of the what ifs. What if this happens? There's concerns about the potential outcomes before they happen. And so one of the things they suggest is using mindfulness, right? And mindfulness, in the most basic premises, about being present in the now and not judging. So I know some people think, mindfulness, there's ties to like Eastern philosophy. And so I know as a believer, some people are like, well, I don't want anything to take me away from my spiritual beliefs. The Bible says, be still. It's to say, be still, know that I'm God. But when we are still, we are in the present.
And when you've done everything you know to do, just stay in.
Right. So we want to be able to recognize that sometimes we're struggling so much because we keep moving outside of our present moment. We're hurting because of something that's happened in the past. And I'm not saying we ignore past events and we don't understand that they hurt, but we have to heal through them and come back into our present moment. When we're concerned about what's going to happen in our future, and I don't know about you, but we like to be able to control every aspect of our life when we have so very little control.
Right.
Again, we move into our future. But to come back into our present allows us to go, okay, let me just be in the now. Let me breathe, knowing that I can't control whether there's going to be a 6th, 7th, 8th variant and wave of this pandemic.
That's right. Omicron, Delta, right? We are not in control of that. That's outside of our sphere of influence.
Right. But it's being able to look at what's happening now, because one of the things that's occurred to me now is I'm like, I wonder if what we think sometimes is a bad memory is actually lack of presence in the present moment.
Interesting.
So think about when you go through your day, you're driving home from work and you're already planning what's for dinner, this, that, and the other. And then you can't actually think about what happened in your drive home from work. That was because part of your brain was in a different time. It was jumping ahead. So did you forget what happened in your drive, or were you not even present to observe what happened in that present moment?
Let me say this right quick as a brief injection. And in my book, Extreme Balance Makeover, I talk about just being here now, being in the moment. If you can't, when I'm dealing with my children and we're out on a family date or whatever the case may be, I cannot be doing that and be talking to people on the phone at the same time. So I have to call you back. I cannot do both. It's like you can attempt to do both, but you're not really able to be two places in one time.
But we
So
glorified multitasking.
like multitask, like you can multitask to the best of your ability, but you're not giving both things 100% because you can't give everything 100%.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So it's my new school of thought is multitasking really a possibility? But when I was younger and I wrote that book, I talk about multitasking because I thought I was balancing and juggling it all, but really I was taken away from one other thing at the time that I was focusing on something else, because really your attention can only focus on that one particular thing at that one time. So my philosophy has changed. There you have it.
Yeah. And think about it. The more places you try to pull, more directions you try to pull yourself in, no wonder we're feeling stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Just trying to do it all and have it all sometimes is part of our stress. And it's funny because we could be aiming for something that's good, but if we don't do it with balance or even do it realistically, sometimes we then create more stress.
And sometimes the things that you think are the things that are having it all. Like for me, family is just the be all end all. And when you have your family unit and you think that everything is the way that you think that it really is based on how you've been presented, that this is how my family unit is and we are tackling the world, we're on a mission to accomplish great, and things are not always as they appear, that can make some stress come about real quick. You'd be like, what in the world's happened? I thought am I in a bad movie? What's going on? That's horrible. And that brings on a whole different layer of stress.
Right.
And it's a whole different layer.
One of the key things about dealing with mental health stuff is looking and examining what's happening in our thinking. Mm-hmm. Because we often look at life like life is happening to us. And when we pay attention to our thinking, we see where we do have some choice. Some things we don't have control over. But there are aspects of the ways that we interact with our thoughts that work for us and don't work for us. Right. So I like to do externalization activities where we try to pull ourselves out to see it from a different angle. And one of the things that I do with my clients is I said, let's pretend a certain thought has come to your door. So the thought that I'm less than knocks on your door. Do you invite it in and make it a cup of tea and sit down with it? If it was a physical being, you wouldn't do that. But when we're not seeing it that way, we don't necessarily recognize how much time we're spending with our thoughts that don't serve us. So now when my clients, I got them thinking about that. I'm like, are you hanging out with the thoughts that don't serve you, that upset you, that harm you? Is it time to
hanging out with the thoughts that don't? I'm taking notes for y'all. Y'all should have your own notepads out. I'm over here typing like I'm your receptionist. Okay, so I am hoping that y'all capturing this stuff. Are you hanging out with the thoughts that don't serve you?
And when I say this, like this is just because I can say it doesn't mean I don't have to make sure I remind myself of this regularly.
Right.
I'm not immune. So I like anything I'm talking about, I do. I was upset a few weeks ago and I was just getting all up in my thoughts and I said, stop. How can you be present? Well, I was baking for my brother and his and my nephews. And I said, I'm just going to focus on baking with love. And I shut out everything else. And I just put all my love into how much I love my brother and his boys. And I baked. And when I was done, I was like, that was the most therapeutic baking experience I've ever had.
Oh, girl, see now, if that was me, what would have happened? If that was me, what would have happened? I would have been like, I know therapy. I'm going to go buy them from Ruby G's Buttercream. I've been buying some desserts.
I love to bake.
That's funny. But you did so by just changing the way you looked at that particular exercise gave you more joy and fulfillment and satisfaction.
And I was being intentionally present in that activity because what was happening was I was upset about what is going to happen with ... And I was like, but that's over there and I don't know. And all my upset right now isn't going to change what happens. So where am I at right now? And just exactly as I tell my clients, how can I be present? How can I be mindful in the moment that I'm in right now? Because guess what? Whatever was going to happen was going to happen. I wasn't going to change that.
That's right. That's right. Okay. I'm typing, even though I'm looking at you, I'm still typing. So this is really great. I hope that you guys are benefiting as much as I personally am benefiting from today's episode with Natasha Halliday. When you are intentionally present, if it's a typo, it's because I'm kind of looking at type. But when you are intentionally present, you will be more joyful in the moment that you are in, according to what Natasha Halliday is saying. I've tried to type as many notes as I can. How you can be present in that moment is what she's talking about right now. And are you hanging out with the thoughts that don't serve you well? Y'all see how much I done typed? I'm good.
I was going to say,
y'all.
you're good.
I done type like I'm doing a whole dissertation over here. Externalization exercise. If you're interested in being able to take part in some of these exercises that Natasha offers, I'm going to put her Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, every kind of way that you can stay connected with her right here. So that way, when you get a chance, you can go ahead and connect with her and find out more about the services that she offers. Clearly, she's gifted at everything that she does. So on IG, Facebook, and LinkedIn, it's at Natasha and A Halliday, Halliday for the podcast listeners. Natasha A. Halliday. That's where you'll be able to find her on all of the social media handlers. Okay. All right. Now you are an author. Talk to us about that. We didn't talk about your book, and you got to close out on something funny. So get your mind right.
No pressure.
You are a whole comedian. So in the midst of you dealing with all this mental health and crises and everything, you still bring joy from a comedian perspective. And we like to be able to hear some of that too. Just at least one liner or something.
I'll think of something. So yes,
right.
I'm a co-author on the Affirmations for Women on a Mission journal. And really what I'm so excited about was there was something that the Lord was downloading to me as this opportunity came up. And I was like, well, that's what I'm going to speak on. Because what came up was what the Lord said was, you are working on dealing with fear, but you're only working on fear. Fear comes disguised as so many other things. And so you don't recognize how many ways fear is intervening in your life. So then I had to start breaking it down. So for instance, a while back, years ago, somebody said to me, start doing Facebook Lives. And I love to speak. But I was like, oh, that doesn't work for me because it doesn't work with my personality because it's not interactive. It's just me on the screen and I need to see people and I need to be dialoguing with people.
Right.
And I came up with all these reasons, logic and reason. And I had a good argument. Like if I was on a debate team, I would have had some good arguments I'd come up with. But logic and reason had dressed up. It was fear dressed up as logic and reason. And it was when I realized I was afraid, I had to say, okay, then do it anyways. As Joyce Meyer said, do it afraid.
That's right. Les Brown says that all the time. If it's hard, then do it hard. If you're scared, then do it scared. Doesn't matter, but you just got to do it regardless.
But it was when I recognized that all my pretty arguments was really just fear, then I had to say, okay, then if it's fear, what am I going to do?
Right.
I'm one of those, I was a goody two-shoe growing up. And there's all this, I have to that would surface in my dialogue. And God said to me one day, he goes, that fear of obligation is the fear of not doing the right thing and what's going to happen. And I was like, no, but it's good to do something when you're supposed to. He's like, no, don't be. He says, of course, there's obligations that you may need to meet, but don't allow fear to tell you have to do something. Because you might actually step outside of what's good for you or even what's good for other people. Because we can enable people when we act out of obligation.
That's really good. So when we act out of obligation because we feel like we have to do it because it's just what we think we should do because that's what they want us to do, then that does what?
It can enable people. It can enable behaviors that aren't helpful. Because one of the challenges about when we change our behaviors, people around us might resist. because what we were doing, whether it was healthy or not, might work for them.
Right.
So convince ourselves that then it's calmer when we continue in that, and we feel obligated to continue, but that continuing of that behavior may not be serving anybody well.
That's good.
It may look well because it keeps things quieter, but sometimes we know growth is a painful thing. Our physical bodies hurt when we grow. Why isn't there pain when we grow emotionally and spiritually? Again, it's removing that fear of pain. If we just give up the idea that we should never experience pain in life, we have way more opportunity to grow, and we can heal faster.
Wow. Okay. I'm just sitting here like this. You're like, is she a host or what's happening? Wake up, Kim. Wake up. You're supposed to be asking me another question. But no, really, it is so breathtaking and mesmerizing what you're saying. And maybe because you're a therapist, it just comes across like da 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 da. But for over here, it's like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Drop the mic. I'm just thoroughly impressed with everything that you're sharing, and I'm typing it as well. Yeah. But sometimes
I think what makes me an effective therapist, though, is being spiritually connected. Because I don't think everything that I bring to my clients is not just based on what I've learned in a book. It's my life and what God shows me.
Oh,
and I integrate it all.
What makes me a special therapist, I love it, is my
and then, a little bit of comedy, because sometimes I'm like, sometimes I need to see I can be a hot mess too.
That's funny. And then do you perform different places?
I've only done a bit. This was a bucket list thing that I said I just want to try it once, and I did it summer of 2019 and then fell in love. So most of what I've done has been online, because then #COVID, we ended up in the pandemic.
Right.
And so I've done, some in-person shows, some virtual stuff. But the great thing about the virtual was in October of, 2020, I believe it was, I got to do something out of Plano, Texas. I wasn't going to be flying to Texas for the weekend. So I actually drove. I was going away for the weekend. I drove to my destination. I did a show that Friday night, did my whole weekend away, drove home, and did another show that Sunday when I got home. And that's the wonderful thing about being able to access online spaces, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's been something that I've been dabbling in. I'm having a lot of fun, and life is comedy. So most of what I talk about is my dating life, because the comedy writes itself. I don't even have to write the jokes. I just need to share what happened.
Okay.
And there you go.
Okay. So right after this commercial break, everybody, we're going to hear at least a closeout comment from our own Natasha Halliday, who's going to be talking to us just for one little piece of her script about something that she says when she's talking about dating. Now I'm prepping y'all. It's gonna make you laugh. Okay, laugh, everybody. Mary V. Burton says, yes, a passion to serve is her comment. I see all kinds of comments. I'm hoping that I've represented you all well today. Oh, the presence, being in the moment. I see you tagging people. Athena, our sunshine expert. I see you giving hands up and praise and lots of different recognition. Yes, please. What did we talk about? I think, see, that's why I have to put the comments up sometimes closer, because I see you saying yes, please, but I'm not sure what you're saying it to, Dennis. So type what yes, please is right around when we were talking about statistics and mental health and anxiety. So I'm sure that you can elaborate a little bit more. I see your hearts, Dr. Joe Harris. So glad to have you on. And I also see you, Athena Robertson, saying true facts. Yes, you are responsible for you. Yes, shut your gate is what the takeaway point was at that time that those comments were being made. Know your limits. You are responsible for you is a great comment, Athena. Great morning to everyone. Great morning to you. But they never take the time to rest. There are some people that never take the time to rest, is what this person was saying, Mary V. Burton. And Double P, I'm sure you're going to call. I guess you'll give a call to let her know that you were watching and who you are with these Double P initials. Do you think people, let's see. Okay, we already
addressed, yes.
Okay. All right. I just didn't want to leave any of your comments out. I hope that I represented you all well today. When we come right back, the passion. Yes, Stacy Brown says, good morning. Good morning, Stacy. Oh, here, Dennis responded. It was a great topic, and you, as the instructor, asked the audience if we should speak on it. And I said, yes, please. Thank you so much for being a very active participant, Dennis. We appreciate you and your support of the Kim Jacobs Show. Real quick, I do want to make sure that you all also know that I want you to subscribe right on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the Kim Jacobs Show, take a moment and do so. And the only way that we are able to provide a program of this magnitude on a daily basis, this is a daily show, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time every weekday, is through the support of community members like yourselves. So take a moment today and just pour into the program, pour into this ministry. This is a way that we get a chance to bring balance to the world, one household at a time, is through your contributions. And if you're interested in starting your own talk show from scratch and you want to learn from someone who's had a show on PBS, I've been on the Word Network, been an expert with NBC and had been their weekly expert on their show, filmed at the old Jim and Tammy Faye Baker studio, please feel free to reach out to me, KimJacobsConsulting.com, and I'll tell you everything that I can think to pour into you in our one-on-one training. All right, so I want to take you briefly to our Lamb Funeral Home, one of our episode sponsors. They are having the great desire to have their family serve yours. If you know that you're dealing with pre-planning of funeral expenses and you need to know what to know, you may even be a veteran and you're trying to determine what the benefits are as an adult dependent child or as a spouse of a veteran, give them a call, 704-782-3011. They're certified in all 50 states and they have over 28 years of funeral home experience. Mr. Terry Lamb is a veteran himself, and they will be eager to serve you today. All right, so tell us something. I gave you a lot of time. So if you were at a comedy
a
show.
little something from my comedy. Okay, this is one of my favorite stories. My dad is from a tiny island in the west, in the east, Caribbean called St. Kitts. And we had a family reunion and went to St. Kitts, and they were trying to figure out how to give us an opportunity to do some tourism stuff and arrange for us to go on a class reunion boat cruise, and it got canceled. So rather than have us disappointed, they transferred the tickets to another event and had my very, very Christian family during Carnival go on the XXX boat cruise. So that in itself comes with its own comedy. It was very eye-opening. So that was one thing.
This is your 80-something-year-old dad.
This was, my dad was in his 70s, and like family from like, 20s to 80s. Like it was an experience. So at one point, a gentleman comes to talk to me and we're chatting for a while. And he realizes, and totally appropriately so, that we hadn't exchanged names. So he says to me, "Oh my gosh, what's your name?" And I said, "Hi, I'm Natasha." The response was a little not what I expected.
What?
So rather than giving me his birth certificate name and then nickname, he goes straight into his nickname. And he leans back and he says, "Them call me Crackers still."
They what?
They call him Crackers. That's his nickname. So he said, "Them call me Crackers still," in his Caribbean accent. And I was like, so you have flashes where you picture other things. So I'm picturing, Mom, Dad, this is Crackers. Pastor, this is Crackers. I take the Crackers to be my lawfully wedded husband. I'm like, no, that can't work. Like, that's just not okay.
I'm sorry,
You
cannot date
on your birth certificate
guy.
and then nickname, right? I was like, who only gives their nickname? And why is it Crackers? Like, I was like, but only these things can happen to me. So I was just like, yep, I met a man named Crackers. Until this day, I don't know what his real name is. I was so
You
stunned.
never got to know the man's real name?
I was so stunned I forgot to ask.
Did you go on a date with him?
Sorry?
Did you go on a date?
No. We chatted on the boat and that was the end of it. But it was just, these are the things that happen. I meet men named Crackers, and most people meet John and Peter, and I meet Crackers. So
Oh my God. Okay. That is, oh my goodness. Okay.
But this is why I say the comedy writes itself, because I literally just tell the story. Sometimes I embellish. I think once on stage I added a little bit and I said, met his siblings and I gave them other kind of food names, biscuit, whatever. But that was just for fun, right? But
that is hilarious. Okay. Yeah. If you tell just your triple X story thingy, that alone is going to make everybody like fall out of their seat. And because it's like, you got to be kidding me. I know you did not have to take your family, your dad in them to that. That is like a lot.
Yeah. So what was interesting too was the DJ got wind of our family being on the boat, and there was like a soca remix of a gospel song, and he must have played it like 3 times to appease us.
He's like, I'm sorry that this is happening to you, Papa.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, every once in a while it would be in the midst of all this music, they'd throw in this one song, and it's like, thank you, we appreciate it. We can listen to the other stuff too. We're good, but it was amusing.
It's like, we know the other songs. You don't have to compromise for us, but thank you for considering our family values.
Yeah.
This is like a appeasement gift. That's funny.
Not exactly the right boat cruise for our family, and it wasn't what we signed up for. It's just this person took it upon themselves to take the tickets that we lost from the event that got canceled and transfer them to another event. And that proved to be an experience.
A very rewarding one, I'm sure. One that's going down in the chronicles of time to the point where you're still talking about it like 10 years later, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
All right. Listen, everybody, what a joy it's been to have you here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Everybody, make sure you hashtag Natasha Halliday. Just let's get that trending today and make sure that people know to follow. I'm going to put the hashtag myself. Hashtag Natasha Halliday. I see all of your comments. People are laughing and saying that you're funny. They can tell just by your facial expressions alone. Make sure you all hashtag Natasha Halliday and make sure that you stay connected with her on all social media outlets at Natasha Halliday. And I see Double P. Double P never said their name. That's crazy, right? Double P, why don't you just tell us who you are? That must be funny in itself. You're going to put that in your joke. Somebody that said that you are officially their friend. You're on an episode of a show, and they never tell you who they are.
Who they are.
Get out of here. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, you'll call her later. All right, everybody. Have a great day. And tomorrow, be sure to be in your virtual seats because we're going to be talking to a lady that's talking about faith or fear. Faith or Fear. She's an author and speaker. Her name is Shanna Gordine, and we'll be talking with her tomorrow. And on Friday, we have some of our experts that will be in the house. Sean Hall, my bestie, is going to be here. And she talks about education, and she also deep dives a little bit into politics and stuff. Anisha Bradshaw is going to be here talking about small businesses and what you should be doing now regarding your taxes. Phil Waters is going to be here. He's blind, but he's a man full of vision. Athena Robertson, our sunshine expert, will be here, and she always brings so much joy to the program. Pamela Howard, our luxury events planning specialist, will be here, and she always drops some wise tips. So make sure you tune in on Friday at 11 o'clock. I will see you all. Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. I loved it.
Did you? You had a good experience?
I had a fantastic experience.
All right, everybody. I'll keep this scrolling at the bottom so y'all know how to support the Kim Jacobs Show as we close out. And I will make sure that I go back and put one more time how you can stay connected with Natasha Halliday. Go get her book. Go get anything that she's offering, because she's offering so much that can help us in this time, for a time such as this that we're in right now. Follow her everywhere at Natasha A. Halliday. All right, everybody. Have a great day. See you tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Natasha. Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk away with a missing piece of the puzzle that might be missing in your life. Let's go on this journey together, and I look forward to seeing you Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on The Kim Jacobs Show.